What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Derek here, and today we are going to be talking about spinnerbaits. I've been fishing with these lures for years. Some of my earliest bigger bass that I caught when I was a little kid were caught on these on the creek, on the river, you know, backwaters of lakes. Just so many places that have been effective for a spinnerbait. But then I started learning other techniques and other places that you could be using these, and not just one size fits all for these. Now this is a 3/8 ounce. Now you could fish a 1 ounce or a 3/4 ounce, but we'll get into that here in a second. Now the rods that I typically like to use for a spinning setup is a 6'6". It's got to have a little bit of tip. This is basically going to be your jerkbait or your topwater rod for the most part, and it's going to be something that you can pinpoint cast for how I like to fish. So basically, if you're running up and down a bank or going to stuff that is visible, fishing structure along a bank or where you think would be current breaks or other places, this is where I love to fish these baits. Now, with the line, I like, lighter line. I don't like the big heavy stuff. So when it comes to being like a jerkbait or anything like that, of course I don't ever really throw fluorocarbon anymore, and there's no reason to throw fluorocarbon in my opinion on a spinnerbait since it's moving through the water column. But braid, mono, I stick with that. 8 to 12 pound test, 6'6" rod, just simple stuff, but it's gotta have a little bit of backbone, but it's gotta have a really good action fast tip basically on the end. And I flip and pitch it. I'll make long casts, big sweeping long casts with one of these, and you can fish these things just about anywhere. There are little tips and tricks with these actual lures that will actually catch you more fish a lot of the time. Now, some of the tricks and tips, like making them more bulky, let's say. Now, I've got swim baits, I've got other plastics that I used to love putting on the back side of these to bulk up the profile a little bit, add a little bit more vibration. But as I started learning through the years, I like to fish these in a lot of heavier structure, and they will hang up in trees and other stuff. So one of the tips that I like to do is not have one of these. Now, if you're targeting bigger fish, and there's a lot of bigger fish and it's current and it's off of, the current sections and they're hanging out in eddies, I will fish one of these, and especially if it's open water and they're relating to that current mostly. But if there's structure and other things involved when you're fishing one of these, especially just the normal medium size 3/8 ounce, I won't put anything else. I could basically almost fish this straight out of the box, right from the store. Just make sure that the blades aren't spread all far apart. I like to pinch them together a lot of times to bring that all together to make it more compact. But whenever you're fishing one of these and you do have a plastic on there, if you're trying to roll it over to the tree with the amount of weight that's on that plastic, it will actually cause it to roll and will actually hang in the tree a higher percentage of the time. So if you're going to be fishing one of these spinnerbaits, you've got to know that putting trailers on the backside can be a good thing. Adding that extra vibration, that extra bulkier profile, muddier water, sometimes it's good to have that extra vibration, but remember that it'll cause more hang-ups in trees and brush and anything that you try to roll over. But you can go through a lot more structure and heavy stuff if you don't have anything on it. Now, the technique that I like to use, I'll throw this out and I'll just do a simple retrieve. I'll figure out the speed, if it's fast, slow, if I need to let it drop down a little bit lower and kind of skirt it across the bottom a little bit. Lower my rod tip as the furthest cast out, and then raise it as it gets higher. There's also the heavier weights that we talked about earlier. Now, the 3/4 ounce and a 1 ounce, you can make these year-round baits. They don't have to be backwater, beating the bank kind of lures. If you all know the Alabama rig, which is a great lure for finding those suspended fish or fish that are off of deep lake points or anything like that, if you're fishing out there and you're trying to get those fish to commit to a lure, this is basically a smaller Alabama rig in a lot of cases. I have caught some great size bass, 6, 7, 8 pound bass. Throwing this out, they used to call them ledge busters. And they're bigger, not too much bigger than this, but they're heavier baits. And you can throw them out deeper, they will sink faster, and they will stay down there deeper, longer. So you can cast it out, wait a couple seconds, and then start reeling real slow. And I like to give spinnerbaits a little bit of twitch every now and then, a change in the cadence of the retrieve. So, you know, the monotony of just a spinner spinning right back and then a little flutter, just a stop or a twitch of the pole or anything like that, and then keep reeling. A lot of times that will get that fish's, you know, eye, and it will get triggered in on the spinnerbait and be more apt to bite sometimes. And sometimes you got to be just ready. If you're throwing it right up next to a tree or in an eddy and it's right off the current, they will hit it as soon as it hits the water. But there are so many tricks and so many things that you have to learn through experience. But there's a lot of things I had to learn through the years about how to work these, and I have modified these things out. I have drilled holes in the blades. I have done so many different things to these, but really in their simplest form, you can go buy, I think this is a Strike King. This is the KVD, as you see on the blade right there. But a Booyah, War Eagle used to be one of my favorites. There are so many good spinnerbaits. I've even fished the Walmart $1 lures, and they will catch them. There's not a lot to these lures. It's the action and how you're pulling it back and where those fish are at and seeing if they're gonna bite. That's what will tell you the key on these. But some of the greatest lures to catch fish consistently. I love these things. They are so much fun, and the bite can be so hard sometimes, but I hope that helps you guys. I spent years trying to figure out how to catch them good on a spinnerbait. It takes some practice, but thanks for watching, you guys, and subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.